Catch you up with our next guest because we've got a little bit of, I don't know, tūranga waiwai in common, really. As you people will know, and if you listen to this program, boy, there is, well, are we allowed to have a debate? There is discussion, there's certainly controversy over what are called or described as the principles of the Treaty of Waitangi. And we have a government which seeks, or parts of our government seek to define or indeed extinguish the principles of the Treaty of Waitangi, whatever they are. And like it or not, there is a debate going on about this. It has led, in general, to certain groups of the population calling other groups racist, others people calling people gravy trainers, and generally quite a lot of heightened rhetoric around things. Of recent times, I've noticed a new voice. I'm not going to say in the heightened rhetoric, but certainly in this discussion going on. A guy called Helmut Modlik, who represents Ngāti Toa, and challenged, and I understand that David Seymour accepted your challenge to a debate. You're going to do that on the working group.
I haven't had that confirmed yet, so that's good news, yeah.
Oh, you haven't had it confirmed yet? Well, David said he'd do it on the working group, but not here. I don't know what the issue was there, and it doesn't worry me particularly. Helmut, before I go any further, and I'm going to be honest, I think often people write things in the newspaper and say, represent such and such. I have no idea, and I don't think most of my listeners have got the first bloody idea when you say you're from Ngāti Toa, what that actually means, who you represent and how you represent them and where Ngāti Toa are from.
Yeah, look, good to be with you and your listeners. Kia ora for that, Sean. So, Tōranga Tira is our eponymous ancestor. He lived approximately 300 years ago, and everybody that carries his name is a direct descendant of him. We are a part of the Tainui, Waikato Tainui Confederation. We came down this way 200 years ago, and since that time, basically since 1824, we have been ensconced on the banks of the beautiful Porirua Harbour, and at the top of the South Island in Te Tauihu. So that's who we are, and I'm currently the CEO of our Runanga, which is the entity that was established and in connection with our treaty settlement holds our assets.
In 1990?
1989 it was established. Yes,
okay.
Yes.
All right. How many people would identify, and how do you be a member of Ngāti Toa? You got a list of members?
We do. Yes, there is a register, formal register you sign up to. And we're also an iwi, which is unusual in one respect, in that we actually also allow, in our constitution for our runanga, our spouses to become members of the iwi. I don't believe anyone else does that. You can marry in. You can marry in.
All right. So how many people are in your iwi? How many people on the register?
On the register, just over 9,000. Yeah, so we're only a little iwi.
So you represent 9,000 people?
I certainly am a leader in that community.
Okay,
yes,
are you elected to that position?
No,
or
I'm employed. Yeah, I'm employed.
Employed, so who leads those 9,000 people? Are they elected?
The chair of the runanga is an elected person. His name is Callum Kātini. And
he is elected by the 9,000 members of the iwi?
Via an electoral process, yes. He and the other members of the board.
Which is one person, one vote?
So they actually, the arrangement is you get to vote for 4 candidates on our board who the elections relate to our 4 marae. So every person of the iwi is affiliates to a particular marae. So you get to vote for one person to be on the board from that marae. And then there is a second category of voting. So you get a second vote, which is basically an open membership, so you vote for anyone.
All right.
You get 2 votes.
Look, thank you for letting us know. And could I just say, I think, like, you know, when we talk about Ngāti Toa, I think one thing we should teach in schools, like you learn about the parliament in schools and how to... You don't work. I was never taught what the tribal delineations and lines in New Zealand were, or what iwi represents what part of the country or something. That would seem to me to be basic, and that's why I asked that question. I just think most people don't know, and they don't bother asking.
It's been a curious feature of our educational journey, Sean, that none of us, you know, we learned about the Second World War, we learned about the American Civil War, and goodness knows what else. But New Zealand history was absent. There's a good
I was lucky enough. I was like, my dad was from Gisborne. And my family had associations with Ngāti Porou, so I learned a lot from my dad and my grandpa generation before him, about what went on up there. Let's get to it, though. You seem to have, in recent weeks or months, have become one of the voices speaking out on the contentious, as I said, issue of the treaty and its place in modern-day New Zealand. I want to start with the issue of whether or not there are principles of the treaty. Do you believe there are, and can you point me to them if you do?
The truth is that the treaty is a document with, literally in black and white, which you can go and have a look at if you go up to the National Museum or wherever they keep it these days. The problem isn't really to do with the words. The problem has been from shortly after its signing, pretty much straight away, is the degree to which people are willing to abide by those words. And of course, it was compounded by the fact that it was written in 2 languages.
Yeah.
The emergence of principles, the principles of the treaty, of course, is a contemporary development, which was an attempt both from politicians and ultimately from the judiciary to try to reconcile some otherwise intractable elements, or at least intractable in the minds of some, and none more particularly contentious than the logical tension that exists within the idea that on the one hand, the chiefs and their people were guaranteed their absolute chieftainship over themselves and all that was theirs, and on the other hand, there was a acknowledgement and recognition, or koha, of governorship to the Queen of England. And the logical tension, how do you reconcile that?
Ceding sovereignty. Look, there's no way you sign a deal with a colonial power and you're not ceding sovereignty.
Well, depends on.
And the problem is, if you ceded sovereignty, you can't have partnership.
Well,
I don't have partnership with the Crown. I'm just a citizen of the government in New Zealand. And you've got the same rights as me, right?
Well, your first premise is whether or not sovereignty was ceded. I happen to bring along a weighty tome here for your edification.
Yeah, that's going to work so much. But
just make
how
the point.
Can that book, the English text of the Treaty of Waitangi, how can it be that long? It should only be 1 page long.
Well,
it should be a piece of A4,
the reason is because what the author Ned Fletcher has done is evaluate all of the extant personal and private and official documentation.
Yeah, but
from
the problem is
let me finish off. To answer the question you've asked as to what in fact was the intent and what was the meaning and what were people saying at the time.
Yeah.
And of course, it's not controversial for me to simply make the observation that both historians, judiciary, and others have actually reached conclusions about what was ceded and what was not. The only thing that's disputed is what it means in the 21st century, because it isn't 1840.
Yeah.
I mean, if I could just say it in another way, the idea that 2,000 Europeans here in this country, surrounded by 100,000 warlike natives, fiercely independent, managed to prevail on them, that they would surrender the ability to govern themselves, that just doesn't even make sense.
But they did.
No, that's what people say they did.
That's what happened.
Were
you not colonised, brother?
Now you're getting to a better question.
And I'm sorry, you were.
And now you're getting to a better question. Can we tease that?
My forebears got colonised in Ireland, mate.
They did. Can we tease that out? See, in fact, there's no debate about what ended up being the de facto situation to this very day.
Yeah.
That's not a debatable thing.